Tallapoosa County, Alabama is blessed with natural resources. Majestic hills covered in dense lush forest, a magnificent backwater lake known as Lake Martin, plenty of friendly down-home southern hospitality, and home to some of the state's most beautiful southern belles. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, to top things off, Tallapoosa County is sprinkled here and there with rich deposits of gold. Nuggets of all shapes and sizes. Yes, gold, called by the Indians who once walked these lands the tears of the sun. Today we talk about a wide spot in the road along Alabama Highway 49, where once possibly stood Alabama's first gold rush town. From the heart of the South, this is Alabama Adventures. Hello and welcome to this Alabama adventure. You know, one of the largest gold finds or the largest gold strikes in Alabama was in a little town that was named for the precious ore, Goldville. Name says it all. Goldville was one of, if not the very first, Alabama gold rush boom town. It was born overnight, and I'm sad to say it died the same way. Now let me tell you a little bit about what's going on and what all's happened in about the last week or so. We decided to go over to Goldville one day to just do a little video on the monument that's placed over there for all the gold miners that worked over there and that lived over there back in the 1800s. I believe it was between 1840 and 1850 when Goldville was such a gold booming town. So what we did, we went over to Goldville to just do a little video on the monument over there, and after we got over there, we ran up on a lot more than what we bargained for that afternoon. We have done some research on the town, and that's what we're going to do the video about. Not only Goldville, but a lot of the gold that was found in Tallapoosa County. We also found out a lot about the town when it was there, and I kind of smile about it. But anyway, you on into the video, you will know what I'm talking about. It was just a heck of a town at one time, and I'll say it one time, and I may say it again before the video's over. I certainly hope that I lived a past life over there. And I believe I did, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. We have some of our psychics, our mediums, our sensitives, whatever you want to call it, that are in the Alabama Bigfoot Society, believe that we have picked up on 3 people that actually lived in Goldville at this particular time. As I said, whenever the gold was being actually mined over there in the 1800s. And because of us picking up on these spirits from over there, I have written a little booklet, and we have done some drawings. We put it together, and we're going to offer that for you. You might like to purchase a copy of that later on. But right now, let's get to the video where we went to Goldville to show you the gold miners' memorial monument over there. Okay, now here we are headed down Alabama Highway 22. We're going east. We're looking for Highway 49 to carry us to Goldville. Now as you come into Goldville, you'll come around a very sharp curve, and as you do, you'll see Bluff Springs Road. You'll want to turn left there, go just a little ways to the yield sign, and make another left. And this is the town hall over at Goldville. And you turn into the parking lot, and here's the monument that we're looking for. Okay, now here's the monument. As you can see, it is carved into the shape of the state of Alabama. It has an inscription on it. It also has some carvings, and I'll show you those real quick. All right, just about time we got here this afternoon. It looked like the weather was fixing to go away, and I'll see if I can video a few of those clouds for you. Can't get that way because the sun's the other way, but anyway, you can see a few clouds there. But this is a monument over in Goldville, Alabama, to the gold miners. I almost said coal miners, but this was the gold miners here in Tallapoosa County. So let's walk up here, and I'll see if I can read what it says on the monument. If you will notice, the monument is in the shape of the state of Alabama. Let me get over here on the other side where you can see it right, because that's looking at the back side of the state, and I guess the sun will be in the way. But anyway, you can see that it's the state of Alabama. Down here is a gold miner, and there's an old wheelbarrow, whatever you want to call it. But I'll get back around to this side to where I can read it for you. And it says, Goldville, Alabama, incorporated on January 25, 1843, was at one time one of the largest cities in Alabama with a population near 5,000. With the coming of the California gold rush in 1849, the city became a dormant municipality, later to be reinstated on July 9, 1973. And it's got the same little carving on this side. But if you'll notice, like I said, it's the state of Alabama. See? And if you come in from Goldville from the other direction, you'll pass the city limit sign as well as these mailboxes in case you'd like to write somebody a letter over there. About all that's left is this building and this store. This store is actually open. It's the Goldville Connection. And as you can see, you can come by and sit down and rock a while and maybe reminisce about Goldville or find out some more information on it. Okay, now that's the monument at Goldville, but what I'm going to do is take you on a little tour of the county and show you some other places where gold has been found. Now, I guess you could find it about anywhere in the county, but the 4 places that I'm going to carry you to real quick are the major finds of gold in Tallapoosa County. The first place, let's go down Highway 49 a little bit further, past Horseshoe Bend, of course. We always have to pass Horseshoe Bend or come in contact with Horseshoe Bend when you're in Tallapoosa County. But there's a little place called Eagle Creek. I'll have to admit that I don't know a whole lot about Eagle Creek. I do know it's got a real large cemetery, a very nice Baptist church, as you can see, and it has a water tank. That's about all I can tell you about Eagle Creek. But There was a lot of gold found right here back in the 1800s. Okay, and now another place where a lot of gold was found has sort of an unusual name. It's called the Devil's Backbone. Now, the Devil's Backbone in the 1840s extended from where Martin Dam actually is right now. The dam wasn't there in the 1840s, but it extends from there along the coastline of Lake Martin all the way to Jackson's Gap. And this is Jackson's Gap. It's just a little small town, but here's a little bit of video of it. But this is known as the Devil's Backbone of Tallapoosa County. Like I said, from the dam at Lake Martin along the shoreline up to Jackson's Gap. Okay, now let's go on to another place that was a very good gold mining area in Tallapoosa County. It's called Hog Mountain. And Hog Mountain is a very famous landmark in Tallapoosa County. People in surrounding counties and this whole area know where Hog Mountain is, and most of them have been over there at one time or another, if nothing else, just to say, I've been to Hog Mountain. Let me tell you a little bit about Hog Mountain. There was more gold removed here and over a longer period of time than at any other location in Tallapoosa County. Hog Mountain, which is an unfortunate name, is located 3 miles west of Goldville and about 10 miles northeast of Alexander City. The mountain reaches an elevation of about 1,000 feet and stands 500 feet above Hillaby Creek. The mountain is located in a sparsely populated area and displays some of the most beautiful and rugged country in Tallapoosa County. Now, whenever I'm in Tallapoosa County doing a video or whatever, there's a particular lady down there that I ask a lot of history questions to, and she can always pretty much answer the questions that I ask. And I asked her, where did Hog Mountain get its name? And that was one of the questions that she did not know. She said she had heard of Hog Mountain all her life, but she didn't really know where the name Hog Mountain came from. So I asked some other people, and one of the stories was that when Hog Mountain was first discovered, that from a distance, when you looked at Hog Mountain, it actually looked like the back outline of a hog, like a hog's back, kind of a silhouette against the sky of a hog was what I'm trying to say. And I also heard that at one time, when it was also first discovered, that it was just overran by wild hogs, and that's where Hog Mountain came from. And then there was somebody else told me that they had heard that at one time Hog Mountain was actually owned by a family whose last name was Hog. So you just pick the one that you like best, and that's what we'll go with, is how Hog Mountain got its name. But a little bit more about Hog Mountain is Hog Mountain was also called the Hillaby Mines, and they have been operated since 1844, when only the crudest machines were used for the hauling of the ore to the creek, and this was accomplished with oxen. Many times over the years, the mine has been abandoned and shut down to only be later reopened. And it has recently reopened again. It was shut down for a long time, and recently they have reopened this mine, and they're pulling gold out of it again over there. What I also want to tell you is there is no way the exact amount of gold that has come out of Hog Mountain could be kept up with. This Hog Mountain or Hillaby Mines Company, whenever they were mining, kept up with what was coming out that they were getting out of the mountain. But there were other people that was actually mining the mountain at the same time, so there's no way to know exactly how much gold has been produced by Hog Mountain. But I will tell you this, the mining company kept up with what they were getting out between 1844 and 1937. And it was a little over 25,000 ounces came out of that mountain in that length of time. Now that's a lot of gold coming out of anywhere. So there is a lot of gold, or there was a lot of gold in Tallapoosa County, and there's undoubtedly still a lot of gold down there, as mining at Hog Mountain, as I said, has resumed. And one other little fact that I want to pass along was told to me by the Black Panther lady, who is a very good friend of mine and keeps me filled in on Black Panther sightings and other historical notes that I need to be aware of down in Tallapoosa County. She says that next to Hog Mountain, which is a very famous mountain in Tallapoosa County, next to Hog Mountain is Little Pig Hill. And I have heard this from other people now that we've been doing some research on this area. Now let's go on to Goldville, the most interesting of all places where gold was found. Now I'm going to read you a little something about what I found about the Goldville district. That's what the gold mines or the gold fields or area was called over there, was the Goldville district. In 1842, gold was discovered in northeast Tallapoosa County. The news spread fast and furiously in the same manner as it did in 1849 with the gold strike in California. It brought all kinds of people with the same lust for riches, and I'll get back to that in just a minute. The population of Goldville quickly reached 3,500 people, and at its height reached 5,500. Almost overnight, Goldville became one of the largest towns in Alabama. In the Goldville district, gold veins were rich. The gold was there, but the methods of obtaining it were very crude. There also was free gold, which is gold concentrated at the surface by weathering, which made it possible to work with a shovel and a pan in some places. And I'll get back to that in just a minute. I'll tell you something else about that. But I do want to read this while I have got it here. Gold was worked down to the water level. A great amount of work was done as indicated by the trenches, pits, and shafts that can still be found there today. Now I'm going to tell you a little something about the town, and then like I said, I have some other interesting things I want to tell you about Goldville in the 1800s, not Goldville today. We won't go into that, but I'll tell you a little bit about the 1800s in just a minute. When Goldville was at its height, there were at least 14 merchants, 7 saloons, and 2 hotels that served the needs of the miners, if you know what I mean. Most of the miners lived in tents. There is not any evidence at all of a church being in Goldville in the gold rush days. And how a preacher got by without going over there passing around the plate with all that gold, I don't know. The town of Goldville was born and died between the census of 1840 and 1850. The amount of gold taken from these mines and pits will never be known. Most of the miners were gone before 1850 when news of the California gold strike reached Goldville. The miners packed up and left without even taking time to put out their campfires. The first mine in Goldville district was known as the Birdsong Pits. I thought I would add that in. But now I want to tell you a little something else about what happened to us when we went to Goldville. Okay, now we're going to get on to Goldville, but before we get down to Goldville, there's a lot of other things I need to tell you so you'll sort of have an idea of what all we're talking about. And when I first started doing this video about Goldville, I just thought it would be just a few minutes. But after I have done a little research and some talking to some local historians in that area down in Tallapoosa County, there's enough to do about a 2-hour movie on Goldville and what all went on over there and what all is going on now, and a lot of history, but not only Tallapoosa County, but the surrounding counties that would go along with it. One thing that I want to tell you to begin with, as I said earlier, in Goldville, there was free gold. And a lot of people would say, well, what is free gold? Well, I guess when you mine it, it's all free. What the mining term for free gold was like in the little creeks and streams like that over there, that you could actually walk down those creeks and streams and actually pick up nuggets of gold just out of the water. You didn't even have to pan or anything else for it. You could just pick it up out of the water. And I'm sure that that story is true, because many years ago, when I was a little boy, I can remember sitting around in some old country stores back up toward Woodland, Alabama, if you've ever heard of that. And I'm sure a lot of people that's going to be watching the video around where I live know exactly where Woodland is. and there's a little community just north of Woodland. I'm not sure that highway number. It may be Highway 49. I'm not sure. It's either 48 or 49 up through there. But there's a little community called Providence Community. There's a Baptist church. Here's a picture of the Baptist church, cemetery, and anyway, that's where my father's family was from, and that's where he grew up. And there was a little country store out there. I'll tell you what it was. I'm sure nobody will mind. It was called Spratlin's Grocery. It was just a little one-room store. Now this is in the late '60s, early '70s, and when we visited up there to my granddaddy's, a lot of times we'd go out to the store to maybe we need a loaf of bread or a jar of mayonnaise or something to make sandwiches out of or whatever. And a lot of time, a lot of the old men of the community would be sitting out there. If you ever watched Green Acres, and I'm sure you'll have a laugh about that, but if you've ever watched Green Acres and saw Sam Drucker's general store, that's pretty much what Spratlin's Grocery looked like. And it was just a sort of a community gathering place for people. A lot of the men in that area, wives were already dead, their families were already moved off, and it was just kind of a gathering place for them. And I can remember sitting out there as a little boy and listening to some what I thought was tall tales back then, but the old men were just sort of reliving their younger part of life or whatever and telling old tales and stuff. And I remember out there one time, and I have heard this story several times since. I was probably third or fourth grade the first time that I ever heard this story at Spratlin's Grocery. And I'm sure a lot of people in the Woodland area up there are kin to Mr. Spratlin. He was a very nice man. Anyway, we were out there one day, and something came up about gold mining and panning for gold and that type of stuff. And I remember 2 or 3 of the old men was talking about that they used to do that back when they were younger, and that there was a place up in Cleburne County, which is north of Randolph, and it's also north of Goldville. Well, it would actually be northeast of Goldville, but they were telling that when gold was first discovered there in the 1840s, that you could just walk along the creeks out there and pick up a bucket of gold. They said that they had always heard from their grandparents and older people that got passed down the line that when gold was first discovered in Arbacoochee, and I'm not exactly sure the way that Arbacoochee's spell. It's spelled kind of like it sounds. You could look on a map, I'm sure, and find it. But they said that it was a large gold rush up there, and had it not been for gold discovered in California in 1849, that Cleburne County around Heflin and Arbacoochee would have grown into major cities, more than likely, as much gold that was found in that area. But that would really be something to just walk down a creek and just pick up large nuggets of gold. And I can remember now that I'm telling about it, one of the old men said that he had always heard that a lot of the nuggets that were just picked up out of the creeks up there were as big as the end of your thumb. So I'm sure that that's true, because in the Gold Hill area, which is in Lee County down near Auburn University, gold was discovered there. And then there's also stories about Goldville, and I don't know how many stories I have heard lately since I have been telling some the older people around New Site and Goldville that I'm doing this video. They have a lot of them told the same exact story at different times, but they also said that gold was found so rich over there near Goldville that you could actually walk down the creeks and you could pick up large nuggets out of the creek. So that was what free gold was. But now let me get on to something else. Now I'm sure you're thinking that this video is getting a whole lot longer than what it should be, and it probably is. But there is just so much to tell about this particular subject, and with gold finding and Native American type stuff. I had somebody to email me a while back and said they had heard in several of the videos that I mentioned that I had Native American ancestry, which I do, and that they said that their granddaughter also had Native American ancestry, and they were letting her watch these videos so she could possibly learn about some of the Native American ways and things that I was telling about. So I'm going to tell you this real quick. Whenever back, I think it was in the 1500s, was when Hernando de Soto came to this country. He was a explorer, and he traveled all over the South, all over Georgia and Alabama and on into Mississippi, and he was hunting El Dorado. El Dorado was the city of gold, and he didn't know it at the time, but he walked all over it. The Indians knew it. I have run across some information on that a while back on the internet, and it said that the Indians, whenever DeSoto came here and the other settlers later on searching for gold, that the Indians already knew of a lot of gold mines and areas of gold, or El Dorado, the city of gold, whatever you want to call it, in the Appalachian Mountains. The Indians claimed that the Appalachian Mountains were just full of gold. And apparently it is, because that's where a lot of gold in this area is found, right on the tail end of the Appalachian chain. Appalachian Mountains are also called the Great Smoky Mountains. So the Indians kind of kept it secret, I guess, but it got found out. I just wanted to tell you that. And now I want to tell you something else about Indians. And I hope that lady's little granddaughter is listening to this. This is about my great back up the line somewhere grandfather. I'm not sure which one, but I found this. I guess I should get it recorded better than what I have, but I just ran across it one day in some church records in an old church that I was doing some research in. And anyway, at the time I had found out that I did have Native American ancestry from this area, from Alabama, and I was going through some church records trying to find out where this how many great back up the line grandfather was buried, and his wife, and which I did. But anyway, it had in the church record that he moved to this country from Germany, and when he first moved into the United States, he came to the Carolinas. Then he left the Carolinas after a short while and moved into Georgia. Then from Georgia he decided to move into Randolph County, Alabama, for whatever the reason. I don't know, but it must have been a better place to live back then, I guess. But anyway, he wound up here in around Woodland, Alabama, was where he decided to settle. And what they had noted in the church records up there was that he moved to this country, he bought land, he then built a cabin, he cleared the land, and he planted his crops. Then after he had accomplished all of that, then he went in search of a wife. And it noted in the church record that he had everything in order when he went searching for a wife, and he found a Indian wife. I believe she was Creek. She could have been something else, because there were other tribes in the Creek Nation at the time, which I didn't know until just here a while back. But anyway, I'm doing some research into that, hoping that I'll find that. Hopefully that'll be interesting to that little girl that's trying to learn about her Indian ancestry. Okay, now I guess we need to be getting on back down to Goldville before dark. But anyway, so I can finish up that story. But before I finish up the Goldville story, I got to go change hats, and I'll tell you why. I'll sort of explain that as we get on into the story about a different hat. But something else that I do want to mention about Woodland, the Providence area, and Spratling Grocery up there. Now there is another Spratling Grocery now located on up the road a little further in the community of Hawk, which is an unusual name also. But that little community up there is called Hawk. There's a Spratling Grocery up there now, and it could be some of the same family that owns that store, but it's not the same store that I'm talking about in this story that I'm telling now, that happened back in like the 1960s and early 70s. What I did want to mention also, so you will know exactly who I was talking about, since there is another a Spratling Grocery on up the road now. The man that owned the Spratling Grocery that I'm talking about, his name was Booty Spratling. And I'm sure a lot of people in the Woodland area will recognize that name. And it was sort of an unusual name. I'm not sure that if it was his real name or if that was just a nickname that we used for him. Speaking of nicknames, I'm going to tell you this. Back when we used to go up to my grandparents on like maybe Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, whatever that particular time that we were going. There was another man that used to come up there pretty often to visit. And I don't remember if he was my father's uncle or if he was my grandfather's uncle, but he was an old man. And everybody called him Uncle Boney. Uncle Boney Smith was his name. And that's all I ever knew until he died. And I went out there one day. They were saying, well, let's go out to see Uncle Boney's grave. Uncle Boney, whenever he died, he had already had a metal fence built around he and his wife's grave, which I believe is still up there today. And if you've been in old cemeteries, you've seen these metal picket fences. And I can remember Uncle Boney talking about that, saying that he wanted that fence around his grave before he died because he didn't want no dog digging him up. But, I guess it was a concern probably when he was a young boy that there were wild dogs and that type of stuff that had roamed around. And but I really thought that was funny that he had to have a fence around his grave. And I also thought that was a funny name, Uncle Boney. But come to find out, when we went out to Uncle Boney's grave, his name was not Boney. His name was Bonilla. And I'm not sure where that comes from. I believe it's French. So he had a very nice name, but he just shortened it, or everybody else did, to Uncle Boney. And it could be that way with Booty Spradlin up there. But one other thing I want to tell you about Booty, as I referenced earlier, the TV show Green Acres, and I'm going to reference now the Beverly Hillbillies. And you may say, well, that was a country place up there. And yes, it was, and I'm very proud that it was. And I'm very proud that my ancestors are from a place like that. And I know a lot of people aren't. A lot of people laugh at people from the country and everything. But I certainly do not. I am very proud of all my ancestors that came from the Woodland area. Wonderful bunch of people up there. You couldn't ask for any better people or any better place to actually raise a family than that Woodland, Alabama area. But anyway, getting on back to Booty Spradlin and Spradlin Grocery real quick. You may get tired of these old tales. I know some people do. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people say that they wish I would write all this down in a book, but I just don't have time. I'd rather just sit here and tell it to you. As I said, I want to reference the Beverly Hillbillies. And if you remember the Beverly Hillbillies, Ellie Mae Clampett on there was a beautiful blonde-headed girl, and she wore tight blue jeans and a plaid shirt in most of the show, in a lot of the early shows. Anyway, she was kind of a tomboy and that type of stuff. But anyway, I believe that this girl was Booty's daughter, and she looked just like Ellie Mae. She was a beautiful girl back then. She was probably, I don't know, 18 or 20 years old back then, but she looked just like Ellie Mae to me. She had the blonde hair. She wore the tight blue jeans and the flannel plaid shirt and everything. And I thought she was absolutely the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. And I was about 10 years old. But she was so pretty back then that she caught my eye, even though I was a lot younger than her. I had been like watching Ellie Mae on TV heck every week. Then on the weekends when we would go up to my grandparents up at Woodland, to me there was the real Ellie Mae right there, because as I said, she looked just like her. And I'm sure that somebody from the Woodland area that's watching this video could tell me if that was Booty's daughter or not. But I won't say how old she probably is now, but I'll say back when I was about 10 years old, she was probably 18 or 20. I just want to tell her she was absolutely the most beautiful girl I believe I had ever seen at that time. But now we need to get on to Goldville before dark. One other little thing that I need to add into the video that I forgot about, it really hadn't crossed my mind until I went a little further in the video, and I wanted to come back and put this in. At Spradlin Grocery that I was telling you about, and this beautiful girl back then that looked like Ellie Mae Clampett. If I'm not mistaken, her name was Ellie, because I remember my grandparents would be talking every once in a while and something would come up about Ellie. But I'm not sure if Ellie was the daughter that I'm thinking about or if Ellie was her mother. But I'm sure that some people up around Woodland could straighten me out on that information one way or the other. But it was just odd that Ellie Mae was on TV, and then there was an Ellie up there, and then this girl that looked just like her. But anyway, I just wanted to add that in. Now, if you noticed, I went and changed hats, and this is a hat that I really enjoy wearing. This is my Gus hat. It's a John B. Stetson, and when I bought it, the brim was a little wider, and of course the crown was a little different. And I carried it to a lady that is very good reshaping hats, all styles and all kinds of hats. It doesn't matter what kind it is, she can reshape it. And I'll tell you where it is. It's at the Twisted Spur in Wetumpka, Alabama. It's a Western store down there. And if you have a hat that you've worn and it's kind of messed up and it needs reshaping, that's the place to carry it to. And I'm doing that absolutely free for them, and I hope they don't mind. And the reason that I went and put on my Gus hat is what I'm fixing to tell you about Goldville, Alabama. If you remember the movie Lonesome Dove, where Gus became so famous, what was a lot of that movie about? It was about one particular girl in there that was Lori, or Miss Lorena Wood, I believe was her name in the movie, but they called her Lori. Gus referred to her over and over as Lori Darling. So that's sort of what I got this hat on about. And if you remember Lori Darling's part in the movie of Lonesome Dove, I don't want to say anything out of the way because I do hope I have a lot of young viewers on here. But Lori was a saloon girl. And Gus had a very high admiration for saloon girls, and I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. I guess shady ladies, or a lady of the evening, or a lady of the night, or painted lady, whatever you want to call it. He had a high admiration for them, as do I. I am not ashamed to say that I have known some saloon girls, and have been very proud to know some of the saloon girls that I have. Some of them are very nice, were very kind-hearted people with kinder hearts than a lot of people that weren't saloon girls that I've known over my lifetime. So I just have a high admiration for them, and we'll get on to that in a minute. But anyway, if you hadn't watched the movie Lonesome Dove lately, it might be a good idea to go back. You'll know more about what I'm talking about. But as a matter of fact, talking about Goldville now, let's get on to Goldville for just a minute before we get back to Saloon Girl. I was talking to a lady this afternoon that told me a lot more information on Hog Mountain as well as Goldville. And she was telling about places in Goldville that was on property that she owned and property next to her that were actually the old gold shafts and the old gold mines and everything. And I told her in there, I said, even if there was gold in the side of that mountain over there and in some of these old shafts and stuff you're telling about, I don't know if I could crawl down them. It would have to be something very special down in a gold mine that I could crawl underground. I'm very claustrophobic. And it would take something very special, maybe something like this, to get me in some of those mines over there. But anyway, let's go on, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the more, I don't know what you would call them, stories about Goldville. But Goldville, as I said earlier, had two large hotels over there at one time, and 7 saloons. And these saloons, always in saloons, you're going to find like a saloon girl, which the saloon really needs, because that's what brings the customers in. She'll make them feel welcome and talk with them and dance with people, and that brings money to the saloon, while the miner or the cowboy is buying drinks and stuff. That's her main job and everything. And of course, being, I've got to keep in mind what I can say and what I can't say here, but of course there is another profession that's sometimes associated with all saloon girls, but it's not. And I'll just say a fallen angel. Let me just put it like that's sort of what I prefer to call them. Sometimes a fallen angel or a soil dove or whatever you would like to call her sometimes her profession crosses over into a saloon girl, as things like that sometimes happen. But all saloon girls are not fallen angels, and I want to make that perfectly clear. I don't mean to judge saloon girls or the fallen angels in any way. They have their uh, place here in time, and they have their job to do. But anyway, Goldville, a lot of that went on, so they say, whenever Goldville was such a big boom town over there. And so I kind of want to get on the topic of saloon girls. Well, I guess that's a bad way to put it. I sort of want to get on the topic of saloon girls for a minute because, as I said, to me, a saloon girl back in the Old West and over here at Goldville provided a service. And I'm sure all of you's laughing and saying, oh, yeah, they certainly provided a service. All saloon girls did not provide that service. And I want to make that very clear. As Richard Nixon would say, I want to make that perfectly clear. But anyway, saloon girls, one of the services that they actually provided was therapy. And a lot of us today, and there's nothing wrong with it, a lot of people go to like a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist or psychologist because they have problems that they just can't deal with. And to me, saloon girls back in that day actually provided that service. They sat there and they talked with the miners or the cowboys, and the cowboys or miners told them their problems and their wants and their needs and what they were doing, and maybe they were lonely because they hadn't been around their families in a while. And the saloon girl, for just the price of a few drinks, provided a lot of comfort. And I know you can take that a lot of different ways, but they actually provided more of a service than what they are accredited with these days. But anyway, because of my interest in saloon girls and stuff, I actually believe I lived a past life possibly in Goldville, because for some reason all my life I have always been drawn to that area, and it's always had some type of special meaning to me. Then after we went over there a few weeks ago now, and we began this video just on the gold miner monument over there, several of our psychics that are in the group have made contact, I guess you could call it, have made contact with at least 3 spirits that we believe lived in Goldville at one time. One of the spirits is kind of not an older lady, but she's like in her late 40s, early 50s. Her name is Sadie. We've also made contact with the spirit Lila, which we believe was a saloon girl over there. Sadie, let me get back to her a minute. Sadie was a saloon girl, but I believe later on in life she became an owner of one of the saloons over there. And like I said, she was a saloon girl. She was later an owner. Lila was a saloon girl, and Ruby is another girl. If anybody out there has any information on these 3 names, it would be very interesting to me to maybe see what type of information you have that these names do match up with somebody that actually lived there. The Black Panther lady I have spoke of in some other videos told me a lot of history on Goldville over there, and she told me where the last actual saloon, original saloon, was located in Goldville. And it was when you come around the very sharp curve that you saw earlier in the video and you turn down Bluff Springs Road, it was right there in that corner. And she said it was there for many, many years. Well, it was there from the time that the town came into being until, she said, she thought the late 1950s when it burned up. And somebody else told me, as she was telling me this story that day, somebody else came up and heard what we were talking about. And this particular man said that he remembered the saloon when he was a little boy, passing by it and seeing that particular saloon, and it had a very famous name. I'll tell you that name. And he said this saloon was painted bright red, and we all kind of had a laugh about that. That sort of let you know what the saloon was. Back in those days, the other profession, the painted ladies or the ladies of the night or whatever you want to call them, they at their location a lot of times hung out a lantern that had a red lens in it that would throw off a red light so you would know what you were looking for. And that's where the expression the red light district came from. And if you know what I mean, and I won't go into a lot of detail, You can figure that out for yourself. But anyway, it was just real interesting to me that the last saloon was there as long as to the late 1950s. Now, the Black Panther lady told me that the lady that owned this saloon was Kitty Powell, was her name over there whenever it burned and everything. But the name of the saloon was similar. If you watch Gunsmoke, you remember Miss Kitty that was on Gunsmoke. And that's what this saloon was named, although Gunsmoke was not on the air at the time that this saloon burned up. I think Gunsmoke came along like in the late or mid 50s, and it was not called Miss Kitty's Saloon. It was called the Long Branch Saloon. But anyway, it was Miss Kitty that actually ran the saloon. But this was called Miss Kitty's Saloon, Goldville, Alabama. And we've just done a lot of investigation on this, and because of all this investigation and being contacted by these three spirits that were saloon girls, we believe at one time in Goldville, I have written a little booklet on saloon girls that was kind of told, well, maybe not told to me, but I was kind of led along the lines of what to put in the book and everything. And this is a picture of the cover of the book, and well, I have worked on it a little while. The reason too that we think this book was inspired by these three spirits, it took me like 2.5 days to write this complete thing. I just sat down and went to writing, and it seemed as though the information just came to me. And this book is available on the website, and if you would like a copy of it, I would appreciate you ordering a copy. Okay, so as we're winding on down on this video, I want to talk a little bit more about saloon girls, which was a very prominent thing over in Goldville in its day. As I said, there are many movies that deal with saloon girls. If you will watch, like I said, Lonesome Dove is a very good one. Another one is Wide Earp, the Wide Earp that starred Kevin Costner. In there you'll see that in real life, Wide Earp married a saloon girl who was also a fallen angel. But as I say, sometimes the two professions do overlap. And if you have watched very many episodes of the old TV series Gunsmoke, a lot of those episodes deal with saloon girls. And in those episodes, saloon girls are always held in very high regards. There's never been anything slanderous or bad said about a saloon girl on Gunsmoke. And for some reason, the writers did that. I don't know the reason behind it. But if you'll notice in a lot of those episodes, when somebody would say something bad or do something to a saloon girl, then they had Matt Dillon to deal with. And he always took up for the saloon girl. Like I said, I'm not sure of the reasoning behind the way that the episodes were written. So not only have there been numerous movies and TV shows about saloon girls, there have been thousands of songs written about saloon girls. And as I said, I do believe that Sadie and Lila and Ruby, and there may be some more that had a lot to do with me writing this little booklet. And in no way do I judge or degrade these women in this booklet, but rather I compliment them in my own way. Over my lifetime, I have been fortunate enough to have known several modern-day saloon girls. And for the most part, they have been the nicest, most caring, understanding, and memorable women that I have ever known. Now, I know I may receive a lot of flack and a lot of criticism for what I have said and am saying about saloon girls. But that's my opinion, and we all know what Clint Eastwood has to say about opinions. To me, a saloon girl is the caliber of woman that when God created her, he was creating at his finest. And not only do I tip my hat to the saloon girl, I take it off and I nod my head in a fashion as if she were royalty. For in many ways, she is. So, whatever your opinion may be of a saloon girl, just keep this in mind. That just like you, they all had hopes, dreams, and fears. They all had wants, needs, and desires, just like we all do. They had feelings. And at some point in time, they were all somebody's little girl. And so now, as I bring this video to a close that got a whole lot longer than I ever thought it would or planned for it to, that afternoon that we all went over to Goldville to just do a little quick video on the gold miners monument over there, I'd just like to take this time to say to all the saloon girls that I've been blessed to have known in this life and in past lives, you were all such a special part of my life, and I truly loved every one of you. And someday when this life is over and we're all on the other side with Sadie and Lila and Ruby and all the others, I'll be looking for you, because heaven just couldn't be heaven without saloon girls. Now then, once again, I would like to remind you, if you would like a copy of this booklet that I done, you can find it on AlabamaBigfootSociety.com website on the items for sale page. And I truly believe that I was assisted by Sadie and Lila and Ruby in being able to put this book together. And for some reason, I still feel that they're pretty close. I can feel their presence in here tonight, as a matter of fact. And I might make another video out of what all has happened here today while I've been trying to finish this video. But anyway, would like to thank you for watching once again tonight. And as I always do, I would like to say hello to my granddaughter Madison. I would like to also tell you that the Alabama Bigfoot Society is running completely out of pocket. And if you can, and you can see your way to make a donation, whether it be a monetary donation or an equipment donation, it would be very much appreciated. You can go on the website, AlabamaBigfootSociety.com, and on the front page you can find where you can make a donation. Also, check out our items for sale page. You might find something on there that you'd like. Would like to say, if you like this video, hope you give us a like. And if you like what we're doing down here in Alabama with our Bigfoot and our other paranormal investigations, we would like you to subscribe to the channel. I need to let you know that we are a non-profit society. And with all that being said, I guess I'll be looking for you next time on the next Alabama Adventure.